always forget to hit record. But then I got to go over here and let me see if this is going to work. I'll tell you when we're live.
Okay.
Setting it up now. Let's see. Hopefully I don't have to. Some mornings I have to clear my all of my history in order for it to even go through.
Uh-huh.
Let's
Okay.
see.
Look at this. Look
Not
at this
this
stuff.
morning. All right. All right. And are you ready, Jim?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
All right.
Didn't win anything.
And we're going live in 3, 2, if you wanted to smile, 1. Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Carolyn. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect.
How about now?
I can hear you great.
Good.
So it's Friday morning. It's the end of the week, and we got a special guest today. Well, before I introduce them, we'll get a couple of people on. But Jim, how are you doing Friday morning?
Pretty good. I won $500,000, so I won't be here that long. So I'm gonna collect my $500,000, and then maybe I'll come back.
Excellent.
I don't know how long it takes for 7-Eleven to pay up. They have $500,000.
So we got a couple people joining us. I'm sure in just a few minutes we'll have a little bit more. But I'm really excited to do this interview with you today, Jim, because boy, we could talk for a long time, you and me, because you're such an interesting person. Why don't you tell me a little bit? Who's Jim? Who's Jim Fielding, professor?
Oh, who am I? Well, okay. Well, I've been in the metal detector. Well, I'm an engineer. I used to be an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Electronics, mechanical. Did a lot of aerospace work, but basically, I've been a treasure hunter for probably since 1965. So
Wow.
It's 57 years. I've been metal detecting. Well, I like to say treasure hunting. We never used to call it metal detecting. We used to call it treasure hunting because that's what it was. Metal detector was like a shovel or a compass or a map. It was just part of what you use to locate your treasure, become fabulously wealthy, and then live in Florida in luxury, like I am now. But it's been a long time. I built my first metal detector from an article in Popular Mechanics in 1965. It actually worked. So my father didn't beat me to death for sawing the handle off my mother's broom and taking down the birdhouse, cannibalizing the radio for the parts. But it did work. It was your favorite type of detector, a BFO, beat frequency oscillator type of machine, which is horrifying today. I don't think anyone could use it. I mean, it would make a lot of noise, and it would phase shift a little bit when you were over metal. There was no discrimination. There was no depth. It's just you figure something's there, you dig it. And targeting, there was no such thing as targeting. When it was loud, it was over the center of the target. So, but that was my first metal detector. And I think after that, I bought a Heathkit machine, and I mostly put together most of my machines. The first commercial machine I ever bought was in like 1980 or 70, maybe it was 75. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. That's before you were born. I think the first really nice professional machine I bought was a Garrett ADS, and that stood for Automatic Detection System, Garrett Deep Seeker. And it was a big, heavy green with a coplanar coil on it, big, heavy dinner plate coil about that big. It was an 8-inch, and it came with a 14-inch. And it was with concentric coil, so it was very unstable near salt water. You couldn't really use it down near the water like you can today, but found a lot of stuff. Back then, silver was everywhere. It was nothing to dig up a Morgan dollar or dig up a walking Liberty, because that was one of the most beautiful coins I think we ever found. I lived in a small town called Margate, Florida, for a long time when I was a kid. And it had a city park, and the city park had been having what they called the Fireman's Fair. They don't have them anymore, but it was called the Fireman's Fair. And they held a fireman's fair every year since 1943, or the war, right after the war. So the park was so full of silver, you just got tired of digging it. I would bring a kid's plastic pail, a
Oh
toy
my
pail,
gosh.
and I'd fill the thing with silver coins down at the market, and nobody else was metal detecting. You never see anybody. Somebody come by and go, "Is that a Geiger counter?" They really would.
Wow.
But we would we would dig under roots. There was no such thing as a pinpointer. You got a signal and you just followed it through the ground. You dig like the Panama Canal trying to find a target, because it would move. You dig it, it would move. Or it was under a tree limb. Tree limb was this thick, and you'd find a barb or a quarter under a tree limb that was from the early 1920s or late 1800s.
Yeah.
There had been a farm there before that, and they had held apparently fairs and things on the farm. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a few people. Ace says good morning, and he said that you've got a family of Pixar lamps behind you.
A what?
Pixar lamps. The Pixar movies. He said you got a family of them.
Yes. I like those kind of lamps before Pixar liked them. I think they stole one of them, because I used to have 3 of them. It doesn't do much, but actually the switches go on these. This one over here, I can control from my computer switch here. I can turn that on and off because the switch went bad. Nice on my Learjet over in the corner here.
Digger Doug says good morning. Jerry Henson says good morning and good luck keeping this under half an hour. Vicky Chilla says good morning. And we've got
everybody.
Rachel and Matt. We've got a bunch of people joining. So Jim, I know you've used a lot of metal detectors over your time of metal detecting, over 50 years of metal detecting.
Tons.
What are your current detectors that you're using?
Oh,
how many detectors do you have?
Well, Patty has.
Who's Patty?
Patty, my wife Patty.
Okay. Some people don't know who she is.
More detectors than I do. I have the one I use most of the time, or have been up to this point, is a MindLab E-Track, which I really like. It's heavy compared to what they have nowadays, but I mean, it's a good machine. It goes very deep. I have multiple coils for it. I have like a 15-inch watt coil, wonderful orange thing. They call it a watt coil. I don't know why they call it that. It's orange, and it's wonderful when you can get it to work right. I have a Excalibur, which is up on blocks right now, Excalibur 1000, which is the older version. Excalibur 2. I used that for many, many years, and finally the cabling came apart on it. It needs new cabling refit. What else do I use? I have the new the Amphibio, the Nocta Macro Amphibio, which is a really very nice machine. I got multiple coils for that now. And I think I got that from you, as I recall.
Yes, you did.
And I also have a Nocta Impact, which I won. I think I won at one of our club hunts, one of the big annual hunts. I won a Nocta Impact, which is a very nice little machine. It has a couple coils. It has a small, like 4-inch coil, and it has a regular elliptical style double D coil, which is a very good coil. And I also use Patty's machines, which she doesn't know I use. The AT Pro. I take the AT out every once in a while. She has a Technetics G2 she won at one of your Kellyco hunts a couple of years ago. And she has 2 different machines. She has an Ace 150, which she started with, and an Ace 300, which she won. Every time I turn my back, she wins something. Two-step Patty wins all those. But we have about 8 or 9 metal detectors. I haven't caught up with learning all of them yet. I mean, so other metal detectors, even though they come out with new machines, it's like I haven't learned the ones really I have, other than the E-Track, which I know very well.
Right. Well, Jim, one of the things that I like about you is because you have been in this hobby so much, and because of your experience as an engineer, you really understand how the detectors work.
Right.
And you're really well-rounded when it comes to detecting. You've done everything from cache hunting to relic hunting, beach hunting. You've done diving, and you know a lot of the original people who got into this hobby and started out. I'm sure over all these years you've seen so much what's one of your most memorable stories, or a few of your memorable stories? Because I mean, I could listen to you all day talk about different things that you've seen and how the hobby's changed and the people in the hobby. So go ahead, floor's for you, Jim.
My most memorable story.
Metal detecting story, that is, Jim.
Oh, I was going to talk about that. Well, okay. There's a lot of them. I used to hang out a lot with Kevin Riley from Riley's Treasure Gold. Kevin died in 2012 of cancer. He didn't realize he had. He wasn't feeling well, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him he had 3 weeks left to live.
Wow.
So yeah, but I used to hang around. One of my favorite stories is when I used to hang around with Kevin down in Broward County, down in Southeast Florida, where I grew up. We used to also hang out with a guy who had a shop across from Kevin, and he sold banjos. We called him Banjo Dave. And Banjo Dave was a big metal detecting nut at the treasure hunter. He used a Fisher. Kevin and Banjo used Fisher machines, like 1280s, I think. And I was using a White's PI, pulse induction machine, a PI 1000. And we used to go down to the Miami River, down toward where SeaWorld is, down off Biscayne Boulevard.
Okay.
It would parallel the Miami River, and we would go down there and we'd go metal detecting, and we would dig up tons and tons of silver coins and rings and things. Nobody was metal detecting then. We'd park along the causeway, get all our gear out. One of my pinpointers is making noise. I don't know why. I must have turned one on accidentally. I don't know. Anyway, we would go out metal detecting, and we would dig up literally pails full of silver and gold coins. Did you hear that?
That's the Garrett.
Why is the Garrett make? Oh, I don't know how this got on, but sorry. Always trying for the limelight. I don't know. I must have bumped the button. But anyway, we'd go metal detecting there, and Kevin would go neck deep. He'd walk way out in the Miami River, and it was all sandy bottom. We'd dig with homemade scoops, although Kevin was making scoops at that time. And he was neck deep in the water, and he was digging up. He's trying to find something. He'd find a lot of pop tabs. And Dave, Banjo Dave, would find a silver half. He was always going, Dave would go, silver half. Kevin would go, Kevin was an Irishman, and Kevin would go get angry. Oh, it looks like UPS is here. What do they got?
Your package.
Probably the package we talked about earlier. Hopefully he doesn't need his signature. I don't think he does. Anyway, Kevin was neck deep, and a couple guys in a boat saw him, and they come up to him, and he's neck deep in the water with his headphones on, and the guys are saying, hey, how many clams have you been finding? And Kevin goes, I'm not looking for clams. I'm metal detecting. The other guy's like, the clamming's really good now, right? How many clams have you found? And Kevin's like, I'm not looking for clams. I'm metal detecting. And he was trying to dig something. So the guys were really irritating the living tar out of him. So finally the guys got mad, and they puttered off, and Kevin says, Kevin would get angry. He's Irishman. He'd get real angry. He come ashore and he goes, I couldn't find that ring I had targeted because those guys are bothering me about clams. I'm not looking for clams. And we're like, okay, Kevin, we know you're not looking for clams, The guys in the boat were just bothering him. All you could see was Kevin's head because he was that deep.
Yeah.
So I remember that. Kevin was a good hunting partner, and he would always yell at me. He said he wasn't no engineer. He just wanted to go find something, because I'd make adjustments. I'd stand there and I'd make adjustments and ground balance, and Kevin would just grab it and hit the water. I'm like, how can you do that? You need to make some adjustments. I'm no engineer, so I just want to find things. So Kevin was, and I used to scuba dive with Kevin a lot. We used to scuba dive a lot off of Fort Lauderdale, and we didn't call it dive detecting. We still called it treasure hunting. We didn't have to have a label for things. And I remember coming back ashore, we were swimming. We'd pop out of the water. We thought that was funny. We'd swim along the bottom with the scuba gear. And when we get real close to shore, because there were people at the beach, we just stand up, like, here's King Neptune, and scare everybody. But I do remember we would scan the beach with the metal detectors along the bottom as we go. And the PI 1000 was very sensitive. I'd get up along the bottom, and I'd I guess that's not my stuff, or is it? Oh, wow. Oh, he's going to my neighbor.
Oh,
Damn it.
okay.
Anyway, I was coming ashore and I got this really strong indication on the PI 1000, the White's machine. And just as I swung the detector aside, the coil, scuba diving along the bottom, I saw the band of a gold watch
Oh,
sticking out of the
wow.
sand. And just as I was reaching for it, Kevin went by me like a dolphin. You know, like he went by me and he pulled this thing out of the sand. He just visually had seen it. I had just detected. He went by me like a train and grabbed that thing out of the sand. And then all I saw was sand where he went by. And I was like, you know, would stand up. And Kevin's like, look what I found. I'm like, look, I just found that with a metal detector. And we're having an argument standing there with there's scuba gear in among all these people. And I said, well, I detected it. He goes, well, no, I saw it first. I said, well, we almost got into a fist fight over this watch. And then there was another time we were scuba diving, metal detecting, and a lightning storm came up off Pompano Beach. And we were in 15, 20 feet of water. And we were down there, and all of a sudden, everything lit up around us. A bolt of lightning had hit the surface of the ocean over our head, but the ocean made it disperse. Like you could see rivulets of, you know, electricity. It would light the whole bottom up, and then you'd see rivulets of electricity go across the surface instead of killing us, which was interesting at the time. We had to sit on the bottom, used up most of our air sitting on the bottom waiting for the lightning strikes to stop. But
Wow.
I do remember that. If we had come out of the water, we'd probably been hit with lightning and
Well,
killed. And the worst of it, of course, the metal detectors would have been damaged.
well, yeah, you can't damage those metal detectors, Jim.
Bolt of lightning probably take out a PI 1000 without too much trouble.
I
Pretty
probably
sure.
would.
Me too. Everybody around me. But those are some of the things I do remember. There was a long, very long story when we were down metal detecting, actually treasure hunting again down in the Keys, which is now a marine sanctuary. You can't metal detect down there anymore. But at the time, we would go down off of Isla Morada and we would metal detect the El Infante Nuestra Senora del Balvanera, which was part of the 1733 plate fleet, the Spanish fleet that was sunk in a hurricane in the 1730s. And we went out to do that. We would go to do that, but the captain of the boat and I went out to metal detect one of the islands because he was a German guy, and we had two ships called the Little Aubrey and the Aubrey, which were two fishing boats that we had chartered. Kevin Riley's idea, again. We chartered these boats and we went down off Isla Morada. It wasn't off Isla Morada. We left from Isla Morada, went off the Matacumbi Keys, which was Mel Fisher's territory at the time. We got visited by one of his boats. I'm trying to remember the name of his boat. And they saw our metal detectors and they came very close to us and told us we couldn't metal detect that area because they were looking for at the time, I think the Etosha.
Okay.
Back in the 80s. And they said we were encroaching on their area. And so we didn't have a lease or anything, but we were in an area that really wasn't part of their area. And our captain knew it. Oh, I know what the name of the boat, Mel Fisher's boat, it was called the Bookmaker.
Okay.
The Bookmaker came up and saw the metal detector, said, you guys can't dive here. And our captain said, yeah, well, you're outside your lease area. We could dive here all we want. So another gunfight almost ensued.
Wow.
Then we had another boat come up and intercept us and try to stop us. Turns out it was a cigarette boat, you know, one of those high-speed cigarette boats. We want to go metal detecting. And these guys come up to us and say, what are you guys doing out here? And our captain said, it looks like we're being attacked by drug runners.
Oh, my gosh.
Turned out that, well, there were a lot of drug runners there that were between Cuba and Florida in the 1980s, the early 80s, and they were running drugs regularly through the Florida Straits. And a lot of people would turn up seriously dead because the drug runners would think you were the police and they'd kill you because they had a couple $1 million worth of cocaine. So I remember Henry goes, well, it looks like we're being robbed. And it turned out that they were the DEA. And they were thinking we were running drugs. And then they saw the metal detectors and said, oh, we don't care about that. So
Sounds like
We,
you've had some very interesting experiences over the years, Jim.
oh yeah, I've nearly been killed a couple of times just metal detecting out,
Wow.
especially with the scuba diving. You know, it's easy to get killed scuba diving, especially when we had all the criminals out and running around. And you know, things go wrong with your tank. Your regulator. I had a regulator quit on me 60 feet deep when it was metal detecting with Kevin again. First stage, there's two stages to most scuba diving and people who scuba dive. Jerry Burbow, if he's watching, he knows. But this is back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Your first stage, which is cuts the air down from 3,000 pounds per square inch down to about 150 pounds, and it
Wow.
comes out to your first stage. And my first stage regulator quit working. It always quits working when you exhale. You know, you breathe out and then you go to take a breath and you're like,
Uh-oh. There's an
no
issue.
air. 60 feet deep. So,
Well, behind you, Jim, I see that you got your little what's it called? Basket full of your detecting gear. What's some of that stuff that you bring with you on a regular out on your hunt?
funny you should ask that, Carolyn. I usually keep this on my desk all the time when I'm working. No, I don't. This is something I got the idea from Mark Hoover. You remember Mark Hoover? He used to be our second vice president before he cut and ran. Remember him?
Yep, I do.
Yeah. He was a good second vice president. But he suggested this is I got this at it's a carryall. This thing's a 14-inch carryall, and I put all my stuff in it. When you go and stuff, all the pinpointers and all the spare batteries and all the water and your badges and spare everything and diggers and all kinds of stuff goes in this case. And I put that in the trunk of my carry out to the car. It's got all the stuff that you normally would have an armful of, but this thing works really well. Even bug spray, keep bug spraying it. Tick and bug spray.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. Spare rechargeable batteries in a Garrett pouch. Open that up, you got all kinds of rechargeable batteries. The good ones that still recharge. Put them in there. We got those spare 9-volt batteries because.
Can you hold it up in front? People want to see the whole basket. They want to see how big it is, what it is.
Oh, I could do that. Hold on, let me pump myself up because this is a big thing. Hold on, here. Let me see if I get hold of it. Oh, it's pretty heavy. I mean, it's pretty heavy.
Looks like you're struggling over there.
No, I'm an old man, Carolyn. I'm not a young guy. This is one side of it. Pinpointers in one side. You got 9-volt batteries over here. You got bug spray over here on the other side. Oh, and there's stuff inside it too. The other side. Yeah, you got recovery equipment, brushes, in case you want to paint something while you're out detecting. Like this park restaurant.
Never know when.
Let me repaint this. Yeah, and gloves. Finally got myself a pair of gloves and cut the fingers out of the thing so I can curl the other gloves for. There's got a lot of stuff in here. Inside, you got
coin probe.
And this is important that nobody carries with them, but I carry one. Carry one of these.
First aid kit?
Yes.
I have
you
one.
Recognize it. First aid kit. Carry extra water. Carry marking tape. Carry a couple canisters of this, which is mace.
Just in case you need it.
You
Don't
never
hit
know.
the button.
And dogs and people and snakes. Snakes don't like this either.
Okay.
Spray them with that. Carry one of these.
Bite and sting kit. Yep.
Yeah, some people were telling me it doesn't work on snake bites, but I use it because when I get bit with a snake, I just soon get that venom out as quick as I can. Let's see what else we got in here. We got this, which I don't use much anymore because I use a shovel, but it's a MindLab handheld digger thing. And I did have, what else? 9-volt extra.
Somebody wants to know, is your lunch in there too?
I don't put my lunch. That's the only thing done going here. Extra hardware for coils, just in case. Rubber seal go bad. You lose the nut off it because you forgot to tighten it. Get that. Let's see what else I got. Is that it? Well, spare holsters just in case.
Okay.
You want to put these are the really good kind. These are the ones that snap in back. You can open them up. Somebody makes, I'm not going to say who, but somebody makes these that don't, that have a little bitty thing. And if you wear a belt the size of a rope, you can get it on. These have that. These I think are Garrett. These are Garrett, I think. They have a snap on the back. I love these. I love them. Let's see what else I got. Oh, just in case you go on a, oh, what else we got? We got pink tape.
Okay, in case you got a grid.
Right, in case you, yeah, you want to grid something, different colors, just in case, you know, somebody gets offended by this, and we've got this we can use. What else we got? We got drop cloths. We use, these are, I bought a bunch of these. You can buy these at the auto store. These are, I guess, rags. I use them as ground cloths. They work perfectly. They're a little bouncy, and you can put the dirt on them, and as soon as it's bad, you throw them away because you buy them in packs of 100. So who cares, you know?
Somebody wants to know when you're going to pull the rabbit out of there.
The what?
Ace wants to know when you're going to pull a rabbit out of there. You got a little bit of everything in there.
Oh, I also carry this around with me, a spare me. In case something happens to me, I have a spare one of myself, just in case.
There you go.
Something happens to me, I can pull my, this is a mini me that I carry around, just in case. Trying to get into small spaces, you can't get your hand in the pinpointer. I send mini me in to get it. So Jim goes, small Jim goes and gets it. I don't know where.
That's awesome.
I can't get batteries for this little bitty MyLab E-Track anymore, but I don't use them that much. Yeah. There's no rabbit in here. You can't really use a rabbit. This is what I use instead of a rabbit. Right. And this is also really interesting and kind of important. You don't see nobody with. I'm sorry, that's bad English. You don't see nobody with. You get these over at one of the hobby shops. You can buy these. They're like 97 cents for 2 of these. It's a spray bottle with water in it. Carry it in your pouch when you get a coin or something. Rather than rubbing the living tar out of it and scratching it all to, you know, many ways of, you just use a spray bottle. A little bit of water. And it's good for cooling yourself off, too, when it's hot out. Clean coin.
Multi-use.
Who doesn't like this?
Why don't you go ahead and show the viewers what you did on your pinpointer for being able to tell the size when you're in the field if you want to identify something?
Oh, yeah. That was kind of embarrassing, but I'll show it to you anyway. Okay. I put one of these on. I got this. I have a friend who's an archaeologist, and I put this on my Garrett pointer, the Pro Pointer 2, I think it is. I put that on there for a size reference when I take pictures of things. And I've been always trying to encourage people who metal detect, when you dig artifacts and things, try to keep a location, get the location of it, mark it down, and take a couple pictures. And this is a size reference. You know, it's in inches, and I just printed this out and I made it in Photoshop and just stuck it. You see it's coming off, but it makes a good photo reference to, you know, you see people post like, what is this? And it's on a piece of colored paper, and you're like, is that the size of a Volkswagen, or is that 2 inches wide? You don't know.
Right.
So this gives you a little bit of a side reference. Thanks to Kathy Waters, I got this.
Awesome.
When people bother me, I let them have it. Maybe that's not what it's for. Kathy didn't ever really tell me what it's really for. But yeah, I have a multitude.
You're very prepared treasure hunter.
I've got more stuff than you have at Kellyco in my garage, and at better prices because I've already bought them. But yeah, I'm really eager to get this out in the field because I haven't had much chance. The world ended right after I bought this. Remember when I came in? I really wanted one. I've been talking to you for like 3 years about this.
Yes, you have.
Is this any good? And you're like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. I think it's okay. But some people say it's not. I had one of these. I had a 25. This is a MyLab, what, 35?
Yep, 35.
35. I had one of the MyLab 25s for a number of years, which caused me to use words I haven't used since I was in the military. I even made up some new curse words with that. The problem with it was I lost a couple contests because of that. And it was very durable because I'd thrown it against trees, into a fence, I kicked it, I'd thrown it underwater. I think still worked reasonably bad. But this thing here is great. I love this thing. It's adjustable. You'll find the plates in my neck and all the shrapnel in my head. It's not doing that. And it's adjustable. I like it because it's got adjustable sensitivity. I love this thing.
Yeah.
And it's loud.
It's a very nice pinpointer there. I do.
I love this thing. And I haven't had a chance. It looks more like a carrot than the Garrett carrot because it has this, you know.
Yeah, it does.
Garrett carrot, which really doesn't, it's a bright color, but this is better, more of the texture of a carrot. So
it is.
I'm kind of like liking it better. Say that.
We got a
They're interested.
question in here. Patrick, he's one of our daily viewers. He wanted to ask me what my go-to metal detector is. I have two that I go to, the AT Max and the CTX 3030. Those are my two that I use the most. And Jim, I can't believe it's already been half an hour. I want to ask you, you're a very knowledgeable person. You take I mean, yeah, you've been a little bit of a jokester today, but you take
Me?
yeah,
Not
you take
me.
the hobby pretty serious. You stand up
Yeah,
by the laws, the rules, and you really like
sure.
to help new detectorists. I know you even took part in a mentoring program just recently.
We did.
If
Did a
you could
mentoring.
give anyone any bit that's new to the hobby, what would be the best advice you could give a new detectorist when they're starting out?
Hmm. Um,
I got you stumped, Jim. That don't happen very often.
well, there's so many things. I mean, the most important thing for somebody starting, I think the best advice is to learn how to target properly and learn your machine inside out. Read the manual over and over and make a test garden in your backyard. Okay,
Yes.
don't wander out and look for flattened beer cans all day. Get some coins, quarters, pennies, nickels, gold if you can spare it. Bury them 6 inches in your backyard, mark them with little golf tees, and go out there and practice with your detector what it's telling you. Because different conditions create different responses on the same target with the same detector, if it's wet, if it's dry. But a
True.
test garden with even put a pop tab, put them sideways, all different, because, coins will make a different sound if they're directly up and down on the ground. They'll double beep on a scan rather than a single beep. So I think the most important thing is learn your machine and make a test garden to test it on before you
Hmm.
head out to park. Because if you don't know how to target properly and you haven't run a test garden and know what you're seeing, you're going to dig holes and you're going to ruin it for the rest of us, and we're going to come looking for you.
Some of the comments in here that people are adding to that: be patient, don't get discouraged, have someone experience help you learn, research. Those are all really important. And one of the things that I like about when I joined our club is there's people like you, there's people like Alan, Ralph Flippo, Jim Tippett. I mean, very experienced hunters that really do help you learn. I mean, I thought it was just going out digging up targets. That's what I thought metal detecting was, but there is so much, and you do have to take that time to learn your detector to be successful.
Right, understand what you're actually seeing. Nobody jumps in an aircraft and flies it off. Even, I've been also a commercial pilot, and you don't just jump from one aircraft to another.
Hmm.
Even though you can do that for an automobile, it's kind of funny. You can jump you know how to drive any automobile, but airplanes are a little different. And it's
Yeah.
like metal detectors. You can't just jump in one, fire it up, and head off into the blue, because there's things
Hmm.
you don't know about it that will cause you problems later. It's the same with metal detectors. Um, it's not just the metal detector, it's also the coil. Changing a coil, size wise or type wise, changes the entire characteristics of that machine.
Very true.
When you get the standard coils, like 11 inches, you always get a big
Hmm.
coil. But the smaller coil is really almost always my choice. And concentric versus double D or wide scan coil changes the characteristics of the machine. So once you know your machine really well, then you start branching out and buying usually smaller coils for it.
Right.
Uh, Bigger coils, I have a couple of very large coils that I very rarely use, unless you're going cache hunting or something like that. You're looking for something big in an area where there's not a lot of trash,
Hmm.
in somebody's yard or a farm, where you think somebody might have buried a can of gold coins. Um, that happened to us, Kevin Riley and I, and we had a guy come in back in 1982.
That's when I was born, Jim.
Yeah, we had heard about that, that you've been born.
So you went out to celebrate detecting.
Kevin goes, man, she's going to be a real troublemaker. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Well, we had a
So,
guy come in. His grandfather had made a lot of money selling cattle in Cuba. And
Hmm.
Cuba paid in gold coin, $20 gold pieces,
Wow.
$20 eagle. And his grandfather, before he died, took all of his gold coins and he buried them in 5-gallon milk cans
Oh my
all over
gosh.
his farm. He had a farm that was like 5 square miles. So the guy came in and wanted to know if we could find the big metal cans of gold coins. We found one of them between
Wow.
2 palm trees, and we pulled it. The guy was with us the whole time. We didn't get to go out ourselves. He stayed with us, but we found him because we were looking for markers. People bury caches because they need a surface marker so they
Hmm.
know where they buried it. Because most people who bury them don't have a metal detector. They're going to go back and physically dig it back up where
Right.
they.
Think
We
they
found a five
buried it.
gallon can. We opened that thing up, and the can was rusted. It had been in the ground for a long time, since the early 1900s. When we pulled it out of the ground, all these gold coins that looked brand new spilled all over the
Oh
site.
my gosh. That's
And
amazing.
he gave us, Kevin and I each got one gold coin. He gave us one gold coin for finding them.
Wow.
And we never did find the other cans. There was 4 or 5 more cans out there. Never did find them as far as I know. And they're probably a condo built over them or a city park right where it is. So
Love to go
dig
to that
everything.
city park.
Dig everything. Down near Kendall in Miami.
Well, Jim, it's about time to wrap it up, but I would like to invite you back on here sometime because you do have so many stories, and I would like to hear a little bit more about the cache hunting because I know we've gone on looking for some caches
Right.
together. So I'd like to invite you back sometime. But for
Okay.
today, it's that's a wrap for Kellyco. Thank you, a coffee with Kellyco. Thank you for coming
Okay.
and
Thanks for.
having some treasure talk with me. Thanks everybody for watching,
Bye.
and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.